Good afternoon and welcome back to Gulfstream Park. Thank you once again for joining us here on Gulfstream today. I'm Gabby Gaudette, joined by Ron Nicoletti on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, the day after having some very nice stakes action here in South Florida. We saw the likes of Miss Matzo Ball pull off the upset, and Power Alert remain undefeated on the Gulfstream Park turf course as well. And a tough sequence in the pick six, and actually the pick five and the pick six paying astronomical amounts.
Yeah, the pick five paid the late one paid $109,000 plus. The Rainbow Six was right up there, and I thought maybe we'd get it. We had a $63 horse and a $64 horse in the sequence, and still they were all covered.
Once those pools continue to grow past $3 million, it is very difficult to have a lone winning ticket. But still, if you play, the return that you get is still quite nice. Maybe not $3 million.
I think yesterday was 89,000 again, something like that. So 89,000 for 6 out of 6. So you might not hit that one unique ticket, but certainly you can get a massive payoff by the way it's been going lately.
And speaking of payoffs, a mandatory payout in the pick six in just a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, March 26th, Saturday, March 26th. That's the week before the Florida Derby weekend, so they wanted to give it out that particular week so we can concentrate on it. Now we have to see. We got, counting today, we got 11 racing cards till that day, or 10 racing cards till that day. See if it'll last. If it is, it'll be $20 million, I guarantee you.
It ain't easy today, I'll tell you that. I did find a single, which we'll get to later today, but it's kind of a gutsy single as well. We take a look at some of our featured wagers and our carryovers, though. And we do have a nice little carryover in that rolling super high five. Get in the action early. That carryover is over $4,000 there. It starts in race 1. Also, for the 50-cent early pick 5, it does start in race 1 as we get to race 7. The 20-cent Rainbow 6. Once again, big carryover, $3.1 million in race 7. Race 8 starts the 50-cent late pick 5 as well, and we started all off this 12-race program on race 1, and we do have an early pick 5 ticket.
We have an early pick 5. We got a fast main track affirmed turf course. Let's show you my early ticket here. Stuck on $54 in the first leg over the last couple of days, because it's not an easy sequence. Using 2 horses in here, and that is the 3 6-inch heels and number 6 St. Abbey, and you see the rest of the progression. 2 in the second, then I went 3 deep, 3 deep, and 3 deep, right down to race number 5 today.
Okay, we started off here, and we'll take a look at St. Abbey, a horse that comes out here, the number 6 horse with Javier Castellano. And watch the last replay. This horse was coming in off of a bit of a freshening there since a Tampa race in early January, but we see this on the 19th of February. Unfortunately, she just gets into a whole lot of trouble on this particular day. Jockey Joel Rosario was in the saddle, and he was just kind of bottled up there waiting for a seam to open up, and he never really got that seam to open up. He tried to angle her out to find a clear path, and it was immediately shut off once again with the 1 coming in and the 7 coming out, and this mare just had no room to run and really let herself go here. So I think coming back against lesser company is going to make her very tough to beat.
Yeah, I think she looks really good at the $16,000 level, trained by Jane Cervelli and ridden today by our leading rider, Javier Castellano.
The 3 6-inch heels, first off the claim for Ramon Preciado, did notch that non-winners a 2 lifetime condition last time out. But we have a stat here for the barn over the past 5 years on the turf, first off the claim. Only 1 for 16, so 6%. They do hit the board a fantastic amount of time, 8 for 16, but a very negative ROI. I would imagine this horse will be decently bet because the barn does well off the claim, just not primarily with their turf starters.
Yeah, and it looks like a logical contender in here with the scratch of the number 2 horse in here, Ramble. So I think it's a horse you got to have somewhere on your ticket. I closed it out with the 4 Pollyanna, dropping to the $16,000 level, going to the turf. Was racing on the Poly up at Woodbine. Ricky Griffith, pretty solid with the dirt to turf or synthetic to turf movies, about 20%. So maybe that horse is spotted to grab a share.
The 9 Jualiza, I've liked this filly for so long, and she just really hasn't panned out for me. She just needs everything to go her way in order to make a very competitive race. She should get a decent amount of speed in here. That could maybe turn the tables, but I think she does need to take a little bit of a step forward in order to beat the rest of this bunch here today. We'll move on to the second race, an open $6,250,000 claiming event, 1 turn mile onto the main track in the 5 El Nath. back into the barn of the Marcus Vitale barn does seem to be the horse to beat.
Yeah, and I like that when horses, when trainers or owners, and it's reclaimed by Liza Racing and Marcus Vitale, trying to make it 3 in a row at the distance and at this level, and unleashing her patented late charge to win at the wire again. Last time out, looks like a logical contender in there. I put the 8 BL's Wagon in second. She'll be primed and ready to offer more after returning from a freshening. Stalked the pace, weakened to finish fourth behind a horse that was scratched out of here, and that is Venom Girl.
And with the scratch of Venom Girl, I thought that it actually heightened the chances of the 8 BL's Wagon, because Venom Girl figured to be part of the pace scenario. And now with that horse out, BL's Wagon could very well be in that controlling position from the outside. There are some other horses in here that potentially could have a little bit of speed, like the 6, Trust Your Intuition. If they send this horse, now the distance is suspect for a horse like the 6, Trust Your Intuition. And I like BL's Wagon at this distance, so she could have that advantage if the pace kind of falls apart. But you have to respect Elnath in here, because she's not that slow, and she should be able to sit in that stalking trip right behind the pace setters.
Yeah, I mean, she looks like totally the one to beat in here.
We'll move on to the third race, a first level allowance race, 6 furlongs onto the main track. And a couple different ways to go, but we do have the 6 Double Bolt coming in off of a defeat last time out as the heavy favorite. And we'll take a look at that race too on the 27th of January, the stretch run. And she looked like she was going to win this race for fun for a second. She was perched at the quarter pole and just ready to roll from there. And maybe she just was a little bit short in that race, or perhaps she was beaten by a better horse. My honest question to you, did you think that this was a very solid performance, and do you stick with her once again today?
I do, and I do, and I did. So, or I do and I do, I think is what I'm trying to say. Double Bolt, what I remember, this horse ran first time, didn't run that well. They put Lasix on it, broke its maiden by 8 lengths. It was a really impressive performance. It was more than 8. Comes back, runs that well meant second. I think there's a lot of upside with this horse. The daughter of Quality Road, Ralph Nix, has the look to me of a future stakes performer. So I'm going right back with the number 6 Double Bolt.
She does look pretty special. I agree with you. She's one that you do have to respect. But if you're trying to get creative, maybe find another horse to maybe back yourself up in the early pick 5. The 5 Del Cielo is one that I thought has really improved ever since transitioning her form to the main track. It was a solid win against $30,000 claimers. 2 starts back. She came back to stretch out off of that victory, 7 furlongs. I thought that that was a big performance. Now even cutting back, she's trying to find the winner's circle once again today. But last time out, off of that win, she really did the majority of the dirty work. She was pressing 3 wide. She was really game inside. And I thought if she can duplicate a performance cutting back to a more preferred distance, she should be tough.
Yeah, she's a really speedy Ontario bred, and she ran well in that. You mentioned the Queen Mother was those restricted stakes they had that particular day on President's Day. So Del Cielo, definitely on my ticket here. I wanted to single the number 6 of my early pick 5. It did not do it because of Del Cielo.
And she's one you have to respect. The 3 Skip-a-Loot here for Ralph Nix does come in off of a layoff. Last seen on the 28th of October up at Belmont, facing first level allowance horses in the slop. And she's a horse that clearly has a lot of talent, but which filly are we going to get here today? She's capable of some very solid performances, and she's also capable of disappointment.
Yeah, she was grade 2 stakes place during her freshman season, leading jockey Javier Castellano, trying to rekindle that back class today. So you got 2 in here from Ralph Nix, and we've been telling you the old adage of the longer price of the uncoupled entry, but I'm still going to stick with number 6 Thunderbolt. And
Ralph Nix, we didn't throw the statistic up, but with their dirt sprinters with similar layoffs here, just about 15% in a negative ROI. So I would look for this horse to maybe have a solid performance off the layoff and then maybe take a step forward from there. The 4th race on the card, a maiden special weight, a mile on the turf course. Plenty of ways to go, but the 6 Cluntia is the horse to beat.
Yeah, and we got the scratch in the main track. Only Cluntia is turning back to a mile after setting the pace. Giving way late in that race to finish 6th, beating 2.5 lengths, going a mile in the 16th last time out. Jimmy Jerkins, Javier Castellano, son of Sydney's Candy, half-brother to a multiple stakes winner, Wicked Strong, who did most of its good work on the main track. I just thought this was the logical choice in here.
And he has a lot of speed, and I like the fact that he's cutting back in distance. He doesn't necessarily need the lead, but he can go to the lead, and he's exiting the toughest turf races that we have, at least the toughest turf maiden special weights that we've seen so far at this meet. We've seen Giant Run step up to Graded Stakes Company and hold his form very well. Inspector Lindley looks like a horse, stakes caliber type of horse. So those were solid, and I just think the rest of the field is going to have to take a couple steps forward in order to really be competitive against this horse. So I'm fine with taking a short price on Clutia because he is coming out of the toughest races. But the 8 lottery ticket, this horse is no slouch. She ran a solid closing third behind Bokeelia Island. I'm just wondering if he could maybe get into the game just a touch earlier, because we have seen it maybe be a little bit difficult for these deep dead end closers.
Yeah, and he's hoping to cash in at a mile after rallying to finish third, as you mentioned, behind that a really nice win at Bokeelia Island, going a mile in the 16th. That was a softened turf that they listed as good. Trainer Ralph Nix ready to son of Bernstein for the shorter distance. I like the fact that he put a 5 furlong bullet work into this horse, turning back in distance. Turf course is certainly playing firm. So maybe that was just that simple. This horse will improve on that firm course today.
The 5 Titanium Heart was interestingly bet last time out. This horse actually was very well bet, even in debut. This horse has taken a lot of money in both of his career starts, and now you get 15 to 1 or around that price on a horse like this. He is coming in off of a layoff, but I thought that he had a tremendous amount of excuse in his last turf race. He clipped heels and almost fell on the backstretch entering the turn, and they've obviously given him time since then, but maybe a horse to respect on underneath of your ticket.
Yeah, he's 15 to 1 on the board, so that's a real nice price.
Very nice price. The 5th race on the card, a maiden special weight, 6 furlongs onto the main track, and the 7th, Saharan, first-time starter for trainer Jimmy Durkins. Actually had a first-time starter yesterday who was very well touted, and he didn't break very well, but he did have full opportunity to kind of go from there. But I do like the work pattern of this horse coming into this race, and a very well bred, especially on the bottom side, is actually a half to My Conquistador.
Yeah, won the Grade 1 Alcibiades. This one, as you mentioned, debuting for Jimmy Jerkins. As you mentioned, also a series of sharp workouts showing at Palmetto. Starts her career. She's got Lasix. Javier Castellano seemed to be mentioning his name a lot today. He better have a good day today. But a logical choice in there. But, of course, there's other ways to go with these maiden special weight runners. They've been fantastic races to watch.
And we have seen the 9 Lady Soul as well by Speightstown, often very precocious, can really win on anything and at any distance. I love Speightstown as a siren on the bottom side. The mare was a turf and synthetic. The 2 wins that she did have were on turf and synthetic, respectively, at a mile and a 16th. This horse posts solid workouts as well.
Yeah, and, including that recent half-mile bullet work out of the gate. So, Lady Soul, Todd Pletcher, is sitting on 4,000. I think he needs 1 or 2 more to get his 4,000 victory. Maybe he does it here today with this one.
And you threw in another horse in there in the 6 Bygone Days here for Amy Tarrant.
Yeah, this one's a daughter of Old Fashioned who's burning up the Palm Meadows training track in preparation for her career debut. And Lasix to start with. Look at that workout pattern. Boy, this horse looks like it's really been precocious in the morning. So we'll see how number 6 Bygone Days runs, when it comes in and makes its debut.
The 10 Conquest Serenade is a first-time starter for the Mark Casse barn, and I prefer this horse at least in the top 3 here. Maybe could be a sneaky one. And on the bottom side, the mare was a 5-time winner sprinting on the dirt, and is actually a half to a horse by the name of Fatal Bullet. Made a lot of money there. Multiple graded stakes winner on the synthetic and the turf. Was actually a Breeders' Cup participant several times. So this horse is very well bred, a high price purchase, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's ready to go and debut.
Barn has been doing fantastic. Had a couple of wins yesterday. One here, and of course with Tepin coming back and just running lights out.
All over Florida.
All over Florida, that's right.
We'll take a look at the 6th race on the card. 5 furlong turf sprint for this maiden claiming event, in for that $35,000 tag. And the 3 Ukraine is one that you opt for. Meeting the same company here, but I thought had some excuses now, cutting back to a more preferred distance.
Yeah, a solid second in her 5 furlong career debut here on February 6th. It's turning back. She went up. She chased the pace. She retreated when trying 2 turns going going 7.5 furlongs. Tim Hills, Elvis Trujillo, handling the turn back and distance. I'm keen off that race on February 6th. Thought this was a logical choice, and don't know if it was picked on the board. Third choice on the board, on the line.
5-1. I really like the one Wampum Girl in here, but unfortunately she is a scratch, so we'll have to wait for another day. The 4 First Salute, though, you go back to her lone turf sprint, and that was back coming in off of a layoff since early November. We saw that back in December. She was off slowly, but she was running late, and she actually was reserved slightly coming down the stretch. It didn't look like she had a clear room to run. Now Tyler Gaffleone gets in the saddle. I think a big positive rider change here from the turf sprint, and we could very well see this horse maybe get into the game a bit earlier. I like her. She's well bred to handle the turf, and she's meeting a slightly lesser class today.
In that last race, albeit it was on a move to the main track, a couple of horses come out and won their next start here, so a good selection on there, and actually is a second choice on the board.
Well, the 7 Pussy Willow is probably going to get some money here because Javier Castellano in the saddle, but the connections just don't do that well with first-time starters. If you look at them over the past 5 years with their turf sprinters, maiden claimer, first-time starters, just 1 for 8, but she does get Lasix for the first time, and one to maybe respect, but you would think that with Javier attracting the likes of Javier Castellano, she's going to get pretty well bet, maybe undervalued.
Yeah, I believe that she'll take some money in there just because of that factor that you mentioned. I also used the 12 Michaels, Little Alley, 5th behind Ukraine on February 6th, and a chase at the pace 3rd at this level and distance last out. Try and carve out a sprint score from a tough post today, so that was why I threw that one on the ticket.
Okay, well that is races 1 through 6, and on this 12 race program, the pick 6 starts in race 7, a $3.1 million carryover, and we'll get straight to it right after this commercial break. Welcome back to Gulfstream today. Now looking at the Rainbow Six starts in race 7 on this 12 race program. $3.1 million. That sounds like a pretty nice chunk of change. I wonder what that would look like in real life, $3.1 million.
With Phil listening up here for sure, but I wouldn't be here if it was mine. I would be gone. I would be in the Bahamas for a couple of days, then come back and bet some more horses.
Yeah, Barbados or somewhere. Yeah, the Fiji Islands. We'll take a look, though, at the sequence, and it all starts in race 7. And I did come up with an affordable ticket, $43.20, just using 2 horses to start us off, the 4 and the 10, my 2 top selections. As we get into race 8, using the 1, 7, and the 8, keen off of the 9 Montige in race 9. I do really think he's sitting on a big race today, using 3 horses in races 10 and 11, and capping it off with 4 horses in the final leg of the sequence.
Well, what's funny is that my single in race number 9 for the late pick 5 is a different horse in that race, so we'll be battling for our singles today.
We have dueling best bets, I guess, or dueling singles there in the pick 6 and in the pick 5, but we'll get to race 7 here and look at the 10 Tinto Mesa, and this is a replay of the stretch run. You can see in the short comment there was bumped at the start a little bit and then it lacked room at the quarter pole, and that was very much well the case under Luis Saez. He was down on the inside and was just waiting for a little bit of running room here, and he gets a little bit bumped around here, and then he finally finds a little bit of a seam to close from off the pace. Now, I will say he had full opportunity to run on from there, but the winner was legitimate. He was an X'd out winner, and we did see the winner market outlook actually have more momentum.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. The other one, it just looked like he had a restart again. You know, the Tinto Mesa, so I put it on top of the ticket. But I want to hear about your 4 horse in here.
Inside the pipe, we go back to the race 2 starts back. I thought was very, very strong. That was meeting $16,000 claimers, and that was off of a July layoff. Now this will be the third start off of the layoff, so perhaps sitting on the biggest race of the cycle there. And Carly Ray's Warrior was a horse that he was beaten by 2 starts back. That, again, a big, big performance by that horse that came back. He stepped up to a very tough class competition last time out. We saw Big Bazinga be a Xander Zone, some horses, and now dropping back down to a more reasonable level. This horse could go overlooked at a decent price.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's fourth choice on the line. We both used the number 12 on our ticket. Shipwreck Kelly moved to the Bruno Tessori Bon Vita claim, stalked the pace, finished second as the favorite at this level and distance. Julian Leparoux will be in the saddle this afternoon.
One that definitely figures and isn't that slow, so I think can actually find a decent position early. And this is a mile and a 16th. It's okay to have that post position from a mile and a 16th, more so than the mile and the 7.5 furlongs.
Yeah, you got more of a chance to make a move early on in the race.
Race 8 kicks off the 50-cent late pick 5, and we will start it off with the pick 5 and your ticket. I didn't forget it today.
Here you go, see it? And it'll pop up in just a second. And I've got 3 deep here. I used the 1, 2 Clever by half, the 7 Al's Rosie, and the number 8 Miss Dollar in this race. But we were talking about the 9th race. I went with the 1 Unbridled Juan, and you went with the number 9 Mutige. That's where we differ. You see 4 deep in race 10 and $54 ticket here, single in that 1 horse. So should be fun to see who has the best best bet today. But if you can go deeper there, I think you use both those horses.
Maybe we should go find some boxing gloves and wear them for the Prado when we get to race 9 and see how it all shakes out.
Okay.
It's good.
I'm going to lose this one.
Who knows? They're both very talented horses, and we'll get to that race in just a second. But race 8 first, 2 Clever by half. We'll take a look at the most recent win there, winning by a solid 9 lengths. We saw her completely run a hole in the wind last time out in Ladybird. I was out of town, so I had to go back and revisit this replay, and it is what it is. She was impressive.
I mean, she's stretching out to a mile in the dirt for the first time after notching her 2nd consecutive victory, and you see it right there. You know, with open-length victory when she won the 7 furlong, $50,000 Lady Bird, one of those races on President's Day. George Navarro, Eddie Castro. This horse actually going for his 3rd consecutive victory with Eddie Castro in the saddle. So the old hat trick.
And the one reason why I think she might be vulnerable in here and why I decide to go in a different direction is, when is the luck going to run out? We have seen some George Navarro horses over the past couple of racing days that have multiple wins, kind of have a little bit of a regression in form, and I don't like the fact that she's going the mile today. To me, she seems like a sprinter. Yes, the mile is 1 turn here, so that could help her, and yes, she won by open lengths last time out against a tough field. But to me, even if you go back to her mile turf race, she showed speed and she stopped. I just like her so much better staying between the 5 furlong, 7 furlong range.
Well, the horse that you do have on top, I used in 2nd, and I used on my ticket, and that's Al's Rosie.
Yeah, I thought that with the presence of the 8 Miss Darla, she very well could pressure the pace of the 1, 2 Clever by half at this distance, and it could set up for a horse like the 7 Al's Rosie. She is no slouch either. She faced Moonshine Promise 2 starts back. Completely ignore her most recent turf start, but she's been a filly that's in form, and she should be able to be sitting that stalking trip. Corey Lannery, I think, suits her very well.
Yeah, you know, she was 5 wide last time out. It was sort of like a sightseeing trip. Just didn't get a good position in that race, but I put her right on my ticket for all the reasons you mentioned. And also Miss Darla trying to get her first victory at a mile. She's another one trying to win at this distance.
And she does have a little bit of speed, though, that should help her and attracts the likes of Javier Castellano. Now on to the big race, race 9, a first level allowance race going the 1 turn mile. The 1 Unbridled Juan is a horse that is 9 to 5 on the morning line. Javier Castellano will see the most recent replay. This was coming in off of a hefty layoff since August in Saratoga. And this, I thought, ran a huge race, all considering. And look, I loved Unbridled Juan last time out, so maybe I still am a little bit bitter from this race. But we see Outlash in the Rapoli Silks under left-handed encouragement there, really kind of drift this horse wide, kept bumping him, and not much separated them, just a neck. So maybe that had something to do with it. For what it's worth, we saw Outlash actually come back and run at Tampa yesterday in the Challenger, and he was just a mediocre fifth. So what does that do in terms of confidence with Unbridled Wand going into this race?
Yeah, and you maybe say, well, there's a reason to doubt a little bit, but then you look at the workout pattern. This horse has just been firing bullet after bullet after coming back from a long layoff, finishing a troubled second by a neck, working up a storm. It's great connections with Jimmy Jerkins. I think all systems are go with the one Unbridled Wand.
You make a lot of solid points. The 9 Mintige, though, I think has a lot of upside. Now, last time out going the mile and a 16th. Oh, first of all, I love the fact that this horse is cutting back to the one-turn mile today, because his race was sharp under the handling of Joe Sharp prior to the claim there. He just really rolled home from the rest of the field, even after that on the cut back to the 7/8. What a performance he put in behind Amy's Flatter, because there was no, and the money that he actually took, he was 3-1. Now, I know Amy's Flatter came back to not run very well, but that was a very fast race. It was a strong race. And last time out, I thought he made the lead a little bit too much prematurely, primarily because the pace fell apart. But today, with the presence of some other horses in here, he very well could have a target, and the mile distance, I think, is preferred.
Yeah, he got beat by Classy Cat the Cowboy last time out, who's won a lot of stakes races here for trainer Nick Zito. So that, again, was on President's Day in the $60,000 Old Hickory. I agree with you. I mean, you got to have this horse on your ticket, but we have to keep our Pick 5 and Rainbow 6 tickets where they're affordable. So we singled different horses in this spot, but I like both those horses.
And what about the 6 Shaft of Light? This horse had raced against first-level allowance horses in the past, and then just came out of nowhere and ran a 97 Beyer speed figure last time out and opened up on the field by over 9 lengths. We have a stat that I thought was very telling for the George Navarro barn over the past 5 years on the dirt, with claimers stepping up to allowance company 30%,
Wow.
57% in the money, $2.80. When he knows they're good, they step up and they win, kind of like XY Jet.
Yeah, well, XY Jet is absolutely going to Dubai right now. Well, what about Juan and Bina stretching out to 8 furlongs again after setting a pressured pace, giving way late to finish 4th against similar opposition, going 7-8. The big concern of this son of Indian Charlie looked like he was going to be a good one. A lack of a victory in 12 consecutive races dating back to 2014. So this horse was one. I picked it to be on the board, to tell you the truth. I don't know if he can win. If he wins, I thought this horse was going to be better than he was. He just seems to always not get the job done.
And the mile, if the tactic is to go once again as they did in the past 2 starts, he might be severely compromised by the speed of the 6,
Right.
who's now very fast and now stretching out in distance. But he is a horse that has the class in there to be competitive as well. Race 10 on the card, a maiden special weight, a mile on the turf course. And the 4, Sunrise Bernsteini, is one for trainer Kathy Ritvo, making her 2nd career start. Well, we're not going to get the same prices you got on her debut, that's for sure.
Yeah, she rallied to come within the neck of defeating maiden special weight competition, going 7.5 furlongs on that good turf course. You mentioned the connection. Kathy Ritvo, it's the daughter of Bernstein, working well for the return from that freshing. Surprised everyone, ran great. You know, it was great, and I thought it was a good performance. So I went right back and put this one right on top of my ticket.
And I think we're going to see another very solid performance, because she's very well bred to like the lawn. I thought that was a legitimate performance. Now coming back off of a freshening, she should be poised for a big race here. The only horse that I thought could potentially upset her was the 9 Ginned Up to the way outside for trainer Gary Contessa. Julian Leparoux has been riding so well on the turf lately, and it can't go unnoticed, because he gets a horse that has some speed, he puts him on the front end and slows the pace down, and or doesn't slow the pace down. He just is aggressive on the lead, and that's how he's been winning so many turf races. And I think we might see a similar situation with this filly. She's shown speed before in the past, going a mile at Aqueduct. Last out, she did sprint, but she was closing late. I think from the outside they're going to go and hopefully never look back.
Well, let's see if that. Now, what about number 7, Catnap? We both have on the ticket, debuting locally at a mile. Returned from an extended layoff to come within the neck of defeating special weight runners going a mile 16th up at Tampa. Graham Motion, John Velasquez, the daughter of Warfront, love Warfronts on the turf. I think this one has some upside through it on the ticket.
We were just talking about this before we came on air. Theatrical on the bottom side. Isn't that
There you
funny?
go.
She is. She's out of a theatrical mare, Marie Louise. And last time out, it was a little bit steadied at the start, but she was beaten by a legitimate favorite. The horse who won, she was heavily favored for Tom Proctor. She was coming out of maiden special weights from Santa Anita, stretching out. So she was legitimate. I thought it was visually a very solid effort and a strong bid by Catnapped. So one to potentially watch as well. The 11th race on the card, a 2 other than allowance optional claimer, a mile onto the turf course. I'm not going to lie. I had a little bit of a tough time with this race. I used 3 horses in the pick 6, could have potentially used more, and that just goes to show our difference in opinion. I don't see any real chicklets that match up here other than the 3.
Yeah, well, I went with the 2, thinking Mom was solid in the last one. She set a pace on the softened turf, listed as good. I keep mentioning that because the turf course over the last few days, we haven't had much rain. It's been playing much towards the firm side. Gave way grudgingly when finishing 3rd, beating a little over a length, the daughter of Artie Schiller. I think she appreciates the firm going, of course, that's favored just the way she runs.
Hey, I like the case that you do make for her. Now, the 4 War Alert is coming in off of a layoff since September, now trained by Mike Maker. We all know how sneaky good he is on the turf. The statistics speak for themselves with first-time trainer on the turf. And this horse has a little bit of potential to move forward. When she did face turf horses going around of ground, it was at Saratoga. She chased and then stopped, but it was against decent company. Gray Walls, I believe, came back to win a 2 other than at Tampa. And we also saw Tapestry, a horse who I believe is trained by Shug McGahee, come back and run 4th in the Grade 2 Sands Point in this couple of subsequent starts from there. So she might be sneaky good in here. Am I standing on solid ground? No, not at all. The 3-5 Hearts is actually one that you and I both agree on.
Yeah, cutting back to a mile. It has a win at this distance after showing some late interest versus similar in her local starts at a mile and the 3/16 and a mile and an 1/8 respectively. Bill Mott, Jose Lescano handling the turn back in distance today.
The 1 Cali 37, I hope they just go from that inside post, but she could potentially be hounded just to her outside with the 2, thinking of Mom. And that might be a tricky post position to show a lot of speed from. Again, she is coming in off of a layoff, and sometimes that again is a tricky post position to show speed and be pressured the entire way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wide open affair. As you said, the only one we agree with is the 3, so we'll see how that pans out a little later on.
Speaking of wide open affair, take a deep breath and look at this last race, because it's fun and it's not fun at the same time, because we have a wide open turf event, a mile and
Got the same
16.
3 horses on there. How
We
did
do.
that happen?
I think because it was a long weekend and we looked at the 3 horses that made the most sense. No real digging here.
Right.
And I will agree. I didn't do I obviously watched replays and things like that, but this race could be very formful, or it could have blow-up potential written all over it. And we both land on the 9 in here, and that is clearer view. When in doubt, George Navarro.
Yes, it's stepping up into open company of using his speed to the field of 16-3 lifetime claimers. Won that race, of course, by 3 widening lengths. George Navarro, MSC Al Hadamiro going for 2 in a row.
Now this horse is facing tougher company,
Right.
because he just notched the non-winners of 3 lifetime, and now facing open company. Sometimes that can be hard to do, but I think you can work off of the back class when he was facing 2 other than allowance optional claiming company in the past to really work off of 2. So he has the back credentials in order to duplicate a race that he did last out against tougher company. The 2 For All the Marbles was stuck in kind of an awkward chasing position last time out and was stepping up to class. This horse potentially could be the fastest early, and I hope they just get aggressive, send him out of the gate, and go from there, because his best attribute is his speed.
Yeah, and he's back at his proper level. That race last time I was the $50,000 Little Magician.
The 11 Silent Admired for Joe Orsino to the outside if the 2 goes, and if someone else goes with the 2, the pace could potentially fall apart. And I think the 11 Silent Admirer from that outside post position should be sitting in the catbird seat.
Yeah, he rode good. He ran really well last time out. He was waiting for an opening at the quarter pole. He got through and he defeated Simmerler. That was going 9 furlongs. So it was a pretty nice performance.
The only other horse I use in the pick 6, I use 4 horses to cap it off with the 8 in Power, because I think the 8 at 15-1 on the morning line, if you get those odds in the finale, I think could probably outrun those odds here today, because I like the late energy that I saw from him. But again, it's a long shot that hopefully we can get in the final leg of the sequence, but we got to get there first.
Yeah, we got to get there first. Is right. It's a very interesting way to get there today, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
And we'll see whose single does show up, a battle of the minds there in race 9. But once again, thank you for joining us here on Gulfstream today. We're going to take a break. We'll be back through races 1 through 12. The pick 6 does start in race 7 today on this 12 race program. Larry Colmus is going to be coming up here shortly with all those scratches and changes. Best of luck.